What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title called Superfuse. This game surprised me. It kind of came out of nowhere. I've gotten used to like this feeling that anytime you've got sort of a cel-shaded kind of comic book inspired game, they always tend to be a little bit loosey-goosey around the edges. And so anyways, when I dove on into this one, I've found that aesthetic tends to be over the top of games that are kind of like rough. And I did not find that with this game. So if you have not seen Superfuse before, what exactly is it? This is a game that takes place in a dystopian intergalactic future where corporations basically run the galaxy and they need to keep people in line in order to deal with a massive invasion of nasty, kind of bloody, zombie, creepy things that are coming in from the edges of the galaxy. From inside, they are also being attacked by the common people that don't want to be underneath the dystopian corporate government anymore. And so in order to combat that, the dystopian corporate government started giving people powers. And so we are a super soldier, superhero, super something, all right? We're a guy with superpowers, whether it be super strength or laser eyes or whatever else. And our goal is to go out, take missions, annihilate loads of monsters, blow them up all over the screen in giblets, and then collect their loot and equip it on our character to get stronger. And being a big fan of action RPGs ever since Diablo 2, I figured we would give the demo a look today and just see how it rings. So if after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. You can check that out there. On top of that, you can also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream just in case you wanted to hang out live on any given day of the week. I'm always in the Discord, and I tend to be on Twitch, although I'm taking a little break right now, but I ping the Discord whenever I go live. And so anyways, all we got to do is pick our character. We can go with the Berserker or the Elementalist. I played around with the Elementalist a little bit prior to this recording. I thought she was super satisfying and super fun. She's basically a mage that uses ice and lightning and fire magic in order to blow up hordes of zombies and corrupted creatures. And then the Berserker, who I have not played, punches things in the face and probably has like shockwaves, whirlwinds, that kind of stuff. So let's try the Berserker out. If we have time and we end up blowing through like the trial level or whatever else, we'll go back and we'll try out the Elementalist, but let's give it a go. So there's our guy right there. Alright, so here we are in our base. You might note that our character actually looks kind of like geared compared to the way that he looked in the actual lobby. That's because for the purposes of this demo, they've locked the player at level 10. They've given you a wide selection of abilities. They've given you level 10 equivalent gear, and they just want you to run through some missions and have a good time and see if you feel out the game. Now, this game controls just like every other Diablo-style game: Titan Quest, Grim Dawn, Path of Exile. You name it, you left click, you move around, you can click and hold to continue moving your character around as well. On our right click, we've got a tornado, and there you go, we've got a whirl. Did I call it or did I call it? The big beefy guy, he's always got a whirlwind ability. That's pretty rad because I was playing Last Epoch not too long ago, and I had just done a Void Whirlwind build that was actually pretty spicy. We've also got some other abilities. We've got a leap right there. Nothing really outside of the ordinary. Pretty much fits the archetype for Berserkers inside games like this. Pretty much all of them have a jump. Pretty much all of them have a whirlwind. We've got a W ability right here that does a cool little crack ability right there. In fact, cracks the ground, does kind of a ground slam. We've got a lightning shield. Okay, so that allows us to basically put down a riot shield and protect ourselves, and it looks like that is actually toggleable using the E key. And then we've got a power punch. That was also a pretty rad ability. Honestly, I've been fairly impressed with most of the animations that I've played around with in this game. This seems to be a game that really understands the feeling of having really high-powered abilities that feel good to the player. Around this central hub, we're going to have a stash. We are going to have various vendors and things that we can talk to just in case we wanted to get ourselves geared up. We've got like armor vendors. We've got a really skinny robot guy over here who apparently sells us weapons, so that's pretty cool. If I kick that off right there, you can see we've got a vendor, and they've continued that sort of motif throughout the entire game where everything has got a sort of comic book appearance. The best way I'd know how to describe this game is basically Champions Online or City of Heroes meets Diablo 2, which I think is actually a pretty good idea for a game. There is a marked lack. Like, while film has been completely and totally overtaken by a never-ending slog of superheroes that nobody cares about, video games have almost nothing following the failure of Champions Online. Like, there's really nothing out there to play that really focuses on superheroes, and I think this is a really good place to put it. So we've got representative base. Well, just don't do it near me.
Already got a bit of blood under the fingernails, eh? plenty more scuffles ahead. The mining operation is rife with seditious forces. The rule of the gods must be protected, or we all suffer. It is for the greater good.
The corruption's here. We gotta stop it. What's the plan?
Under the cover of chaos, the Ketu have planted a corruption pod in the conduit and now control the area. Return this operation to my control.
Yeah, so to reiterate the basic storyline, corporate government takes over the galaxy. Corporate government does not want to die, and so the executives of said corporate government basically have like a VOT-style The Boys superhero program that they use to become immortal. They make themselves immortal and have all kinds of crazy, powers. And then from there, they can't respond to all the crises that are happening in the galaxy under their reign and stop all the rebels and stuff like that just want to be free. So they start giving those powers out to superheroes. And I'm guessing, that this game is going to kind of turn a corner where we start out fighting the corruption, but eventually we fight against the corporate government, would be my guess. We've got to go to passage. All right, let's go. All right. So let's take a look at these. I want to hit somebody with my super punch, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to super punch a guy in the face. Yeah, super punch, son. Whirlwind. Oh, that was satisfying right there. Yeah, I accept this in all of its forms. Have I ever admitted to you guys how much of an addict I am towards whirlwind builds in any Diablo 2 style game? I don't know if you guys have ever stumbled across this personality glitch that I have, where if a whirlwind build is an option, I cannot walk away from it. So the fact that this game has given me that right at the beginning honestly makes me a little bit biased in its favor. We've got foam shoulder pads. Fortified pauldrons give us 3% health. They lower our movement speed. These guys right here will give us resistance, health, regeneration, but we lose armor, we lose health. How do they look? This game does actually have appearance changes on the gear, so that's a big old checkaroonies in the box that I tend to look for. We're going to go ahead and jump on those guys right there. Can I use an ability out of an ability? I cannot use an ability out of an ability, so I would recommend that be a thing that they add. I'm the kind of person that likes to leapfrog around while whirlwinding. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there. In a game like Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Grim Dawn, it never hurts to let the player feel really powerful. I know some people don't like the playstyle of like Path of Exile where it zoom, zoom, zoom everywhere, but I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I enjoy zoom, zoom, zoom. That's the main reason why I play Path of Exile, is because it's one of the only action RPGs that allows me to zoom, zoom, zoom to my maximal capacity. We do also have flasks down here. It wouldn't let me when I was playing before. It wouldn't let me put flasks in the 3 and 4 spot. It just wouldn't let me do it. I assume you have to unlock them later. I don't know if we're going to get an opportunity to take a look at the progression while we're actually in this episode. I looked around for like a talent tree or something while I was testing the game out to see, if it was worth showing off a video, and I didn't find anything that had to do with progression, but I wouldn't rule it out. But I would like to see what the progression looks like in this game, because with action RPGs, it's one of those situations where the progression and the way that it diversifies from all the competition, I think, really matters. So if you take something like Path of Exile, you've got the massive sphere grid of passives that you get to fiddle around with. And then all your abilities are linked in gems on your items. But if you go to like Last Epoch, you have passive trees that are based on whatever subclass it is that you're playing, and you can put the points wherever you want. But then on top of that, you also have every single ability in the game can level up, and they've all got their own talent trees for like the active stuff that really, really matters. If you've played Grim Dawn before, Grim Dawn has the constellation system, and it's got the Titan Quest style trees where you pump points into like the little meter until you hit the next threshold so that you can get the next cool thing to unlock. I definitely think that taking a look at a progression tree would be one of those things that most prospective buyers would want to take a look at. And so I'm hoping that that exists here at some point. Ooh, good stomp right there. But anyways, I do think that that's something that people are going to want to take a look at. I think that's one of the factors that really, really weighs in heavily for people when deciding whether or not an action RPG is worth their time. Because action RPGs, they all kind of do the exact same thing, but simultaneously, they do it a little bit differently. And that difference can be very, very distinct, as I just listed off a couple of seconds ago. We've got like a corruption nest right here. I am finding the hit feedback to be very, very nice. I think that the health bars are tasteful and they look pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure we just picked up a legendary like on our first run, and I do very much like the fact that for this demo, they allowed you to see legendaries. That's good. And so anyways, it gives us armor, it gives us health, it gives us experience, dodge chance, and a bunch of move speed on top of getting a bunch more armor added on in. I'm a big fan of that. We can get 10 max energy right there. Not really what I'm looking for. Do we have anything else cool sitting around here? Stitched trousers? No, I think I'm good. My trousers, I think, are exactly where I want them to be. I'm actually gonna, let's go ahead and power punch these suckers right here. I'm gonna put up the energy shield. How does the energy shield work? I gotta turn around though. It does seem to be mitigating like 30% damage, which is pretty cool. We'll go ahead and give them a little bit of kind of like a ground pound. Oh, it ricochets. That's rad as hell. I like that a lot. Okay, so when we used our ground pound right there, this ability, when those little shockwaves hit stuff, they bounce and they move on to a new target. Absolutely love that. That's fantastic. That looks great. That feels great. That definitely implies that the game is going to lean towards maybe some abilities that allow you to screen wipe in like a really, really aggressive way. And that's my favorite way to play an action RPG. I haven't been playing the most recent build of Path of Exile because I didn't really like it altogether that much. But one of the main reasons I play Path of Exile is because I like enemy density, and I like being able to wipe out an entire screen's worth of enemies in like one singular rad hit. And the game allows me to do that like no other, on top of sort of satiating my desire for zoom, zoom, zoom. We got fortified bracers over there. I'll just pick them up real fast. I do think it'd be a good idea. Let me see if there's any hold down keys that I can use in order to see lootable objects once I've got another validated lootable object on the screen. The game feels very seamless. It feels very smooth. It feels very good. There's no large delay in between the abilities, and if there is a delay between the button press and the ability going off, it's got a wind-up animation that clearly implies with weight, with impact, that that's what you're supposed to be doing right there. We've got a dead guy right here, and it looks like what I wanted is I wanted to be able to see looted containers with an outline by holding down a key, basically, but I can't seem to find that anywhere. Let me go through the keybinds real fast, see if it allows me to do anything right there. Let's see, show item tags, force attack. No, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have a keybind that you can hold down, sort of like Baldur's Gate style, I guess, that puts an outline around everything that's lootable, like environmental objects like chests, dead bodies, things of that nature. I would like to see that. Or at the very least, if something is lootable, put like a little white sort of line coming out of the top of them and like a little glow or like a little sheen to them that allows you to figure it out. Sure, let's go through the door. Let's do this thing. What you got for me here, baby? What you got for me? Nothing, just a conduit ladder? All right, let's go up the conduit ladder. Does it not go up from that side? Yeah, common problem with ladders in games. You can interact with them from one side, but not from the other, even though the top may not be immediately visible.
Conduit 1B. Access to Conduit 1A is blocked. No living personnel detected in 1B. Non-living personnel may be present.
Okay. Looks like we've got ourselves a little bit of like an AI companion or like a beep boop Star Wars robot that's going to add maybe like some levity or possibly some hijinks. I'm a big fan of hijinks.
Don't want to see Ghost corrupted anytime soon, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, slug that thing. There you go. Knocked it out of the way. Recapture the conduit. What does that do? You found a fuse. Open your inventory. What does a fuse do? Let's see here. Chance to hit, causing a crushing shockwave, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. Where does it get? So chance on hit fuse. Open your skill fuse menu. Looks like we do have access to the combat trees here. So it looks like we're going to be using a DNA loadout. I was a little bit worried we weren't going to be able to see this stuff during the duration of the episode, just because everything was grayed out down here, but it looks like we needed to get to like a certain point. And so it looks like we've got brute force mastery, we've got power punch, and then we've got leap down here. And it looks like you've got basically branching bits of DNA that you can ping pong to maybe as you move around inside of combat. Where did we get that other? We've got weapon efficiency, but we need something in order to be able to play that. And then over here, we can click on this, and it looks like our abilities are customizable. So if we've got Tornado right there, we've got Whirlwind Movement that makes us faster, and then we've got Fuses over here that allow us to use this grid of honeycomb-like sections in order to further customize our abilities. So we can say, hey, what if I want this to have a Crushing Shockwave? That might be kind of cool. How do I know what my capacity is, though, in order to get this all moving? Well, it looks like I've drug in my Crush over here. I guess we'll see if it worked. I should be quite speedy in Tornado mode, I think. Yeah, there we go. Now we're zooming. Me likey zooming. I don't want to go back down to Cold Cargo. That was an accident. Let's take her back. We'll take her back on up to the surface. All right, so let's see what trouble we can get into here now. And what does this do? Oh, it's a waypoint. Okay, so it's a fast travel point. Gotcha. What did it want me to do over here, though? Locate the entrance to the freezer. All right. Can't open that door. Can't interact with that thing over there. Maybe we'll just head upwards and see what kind of chaos we can get ourselves into. Those are mines. Gotcha. Some padded tacets. Okay. A couple of destroyables over there that we can knock out. I do think that environmental destroyables... I don't know, dude. I think every human being has like an innate desire to break stuff. The important historian, Frederick Durst III, wrote a song about it. We got some more stuff over here. Oh boy. Yeah, we got some serious chaos going on right now. Additional credit, sidekick, Infu Flame, padded tacets. I'll probably only pick up the stuff. One suggestion is the game is going to need loot filters. That's one of the first things that I set up for any game like this ever, is loot filters. I don't care about all the white gear and like all the green gear. If it's not like, you know, rare or better, I basically don't even look at it. Let's go ahead and wipe all these guys out real fast. We'll hit them with a little shockwave, right? Maybe give him a little stomp for funsies. Make him a little bit more pancake-like in his demeanor. We've got airtime. What does airtime do? Does it put these inside of like, so we've got impact radius. So that actually makes the radius on my attack larger as well. But it looks like we've got it slotted in on something else possibly. Your ability dashes to your targeted direction. All right. Do I have to, like, add it on in? So equip skills that confuse with airtime? None. All right. And then we've got additional credits. Pretty much everything can use that. I actually kind of like the way that customizing your abilities also increases your loot drops. Like, they've kind of got the Magic Find stat, which is a frequently... So some people like Magic Find, some people do not when it comes to action RPGs. I do like that they've got it kind of folded into your loadout, though. That's kind of like an interesting thing where I don't need to waste gear slots in order to do it. It's part of my abilities, so I can have one of my abilities be designated Magic Find rather than having to make like an entire Gear Find set or a Magic Find set that makes me inefficient in other ways. I can make it so just my Super Punch gives me like higher loot drop, or more than likely Whirlwind, which is what I did right here. Because Whirlwind is probably going to be my principal farming ability that I use in order to churn through just like endless hordes of enemies. But all things considered, I'm actually really, really impressed with the smoothness, the presentation values of the game, the way that it feels. I get the feeling that this team knows what they're doing, and they've played, you know, a lot of action RPGs, because most of the normal sticking points that I get hit on, like impact, or like the feel of the game, or, you know, there's so many things with games like this that can really go wrong during the development process. Like, there's so many underrated things. Like, I think when you look at action RPGs, it's very easy to think to yourself, like, I could make one of those. Lots of enemies, hit them in the face, they drop loot, everybody's happy as long as the loot is of a requisite quality, you know what I mean? But there's actually a lot of nuance that goes into what I consider to be a very pure genre. So when I'm talking about purity there, action RPGs tend to be the genre that have not evolved much over the last 25 or 30 years. Instead, they've focused, and they've refined, and they've become even more of what they already were, just more streamlined, effectively, and with more quality of life. Like, we haven't seen a whole lot of branching off and hybridization with other genres. Action RPGs tend to be this sort of thing that stay very, very near to the source material. That is to say, Diablo, basically. And so anyways, usually when it comes to like very pure genres, there are certain things that are very, very obvious about them that need to be done well. So, like, if you look at, like, a Metroidvania, you want the jumping, you want the fighting, you want all that stuff to feel really, really good, and you want the level transitions to feel good, like you can't go to this zone until you find this key, and you want the secrets to be done in, like, an appealing way. Wow, those drop a lot now that we have a whole bunch of them. I'm okay with it, but a lot of them drop. Oh, no, my inventory is full. Do I have, like, a town portal or something that will... Ooh, I leveled up. Ooh, nice, dude. Okay, so we can increase our mastery or we can fuse the skill. What's the difference? Oh, that just takes me over to there. Okay, so it's like a fast transition. We've got dual strike, which is basically like the double hit that the barbarian has in Diablo 2. We can go like weapon efficiency over here. 20% melee attack speed. Hell yeah, that's going to increase the tick rate on our whirlwind. Let me see if I can chuck some of this stuff right here out. I don't think it's going to be that useful. We've got some better trousers right there. We've got lower armor coming off of them, but we do get a lot of bonuses, so I think I'll put them on right there real fast. But I don't get like the cool little drapery right there that hangs off my leg. It's kind of I want the drapery. I think I'm going to go for the drapery. I don't know, dude. My Huggies are kind of tight. My package is hanging out. I feel like it's going to be bad for the merchandising opportunities. Like, we got to keep this at least somewhat family friendly so that parents can, you know, buy an action figure of me and I can get like 4% revenue on each purchase through Target.com. Let's go ahead and we'll throw out some of this stuff right here. All right, we'll throw that right there. Sidekicks shoulder pads don't look that great for what I'm trying to do, so I'm just going to ditch them. We'll take Pounder real fast. Ooh, it's a weapon? Nice. Yeah, throw that on. Oh, I've got 2 of them now. Oh, I had 2 of them the whole time. Gotcha. I dual wield by default. Extra spicy and sexy. I like it. All right, let's go ahead and chew these guys up. It does appear as though our attacks are ticking much, much quicker than they were previously. We'll break this bad boy open. We're trying to find the entrance to a freezer. Gotcha. But as I was saying, with other genres, there's been a lot of hybridization. So like Metroidvanias that fold in heavier platforming ideas or heavier RPG ideas or Dark Souls-y ideas. You don't see that a whole lot with action RPGs. Action RPGs have stuck to their basics, and they continue to stick to their basics and just get better at it over the years. And it can be difficult to like realize that there are very, very key things that need to go into an action RPG. Like the churning through enemies needs to feel good. Like, the impacts need to feel good. The character's ability to realize they're being hit, and I think this is something that, like, Path of Exile struggles with a lot, is that, like, there's a lot of instant one-shots in some action RPGs, where, like, you may be resistance capped, you may have enough HP, but you go into, like, a new zone, and you get instantly ate by some, you know, combination of mutators that the enemy has. That's an example of a game doing a bad job at telegraphing that, like, hey, you're not ready for this. You just, like, instantly get melted. I've always preferred that there be, like, good hit back there. Allow the player to kind of, like, vary up their behaviors. And this game seems to have, my point in talking about all this is that I feel like this game seems to have a very, very strong grasp on the fundamentals and the accompaniment that go into making an action RPG feel very, very good. They've done actually a shockingly good job with this game, and it seems like it's coming out of left field right now to surprise me as someone who is a very, very big fan of like Titan Quest and Grim Dawn and Last Epoch and Path of Exile and Diablo 3 and all those kinds of games. I am a big fan of them, and I go out of my way to play them in my free time at least once or twice a year for extended hourages. And so I've played a lot of the side ones, you know, that turned out not so great, like stuff like Loki and like the Spore spinoff and all that kind of stuff that turned out kind of bad. Oh, I can get a shield. I find that to be an interesting idea. I sort of dig that, actually. I kind of like the idea that we can have a shield and I can get like a different face mask. Oh, yeah, cool. I dig it. Like, I really, really like what they're doing with this so far. I think everything from the premise to the atmosphere to the graphics to the way that the game functions to the way that the game feels to the way that the game sounds, I don't really see too many issues here. Frankly, I think the game has actually got me fairly excited about it as a fan of the genre. I don't really talk about it too much here on the channel, just because the genre is largely populated by AAA efforts, and AAA is not what I do here. But This is promising. This is quite promising. It's basically City of Heroes, but Diablo 2. And I think I dig that idea a lot. I think that hybridization is going to work for a lot of people. Like, bear in mind the fact that City of Heroes has had, like, a resurgence over the last year or two with private servers and whatnot, and a lot of people have been getting into it. Even my Discord, which tends to focus on indie games, has a lot of people talking about lately how much they've been enjoying playing City of Heroes on reopened servers and whatnot, and kind of reliving their high school years or whatever else in that experience. And so anyways, there is a market for this premise and for this theme and this idea, and they may just be able to hit that nail on the head. We'll see how the customization sort of fleshes out as the game goes along. And of course, I think there's going to be discussions about endgame and what kind of shape that is in. Like, you know, if you take a look at like Last Epoch, which is also being developed by a very, very small team, a huge amount of the conversation that surrounds that game almost entirely revolves around like what is endgame going to look like when the game hits 1.0. You know what I mean? And that game is still in early access and probably not super near to release anytime soon. And already the community's kind of asking what that's going to look like because it's important to prospective buyers, and it's a thing that action RPGs get wrong a lot of the time. I've seen action RPGs that have an absolute amazing leveling experience and a fantastic campaign, and then once you get to endgame, it's just like super generic, and it's not really that much fun, and it's kind of like repetitive, and it doesn't have a lot of player agency folded into the decisions that are being made as to what kind of endgame content you're going to go after. And so I will be keeping a weather eye on this title as the years come along and the game develops out, because I think it's captured my attention. It does look like we have some enemies right there that have mutators on them. So it looks like we are going to be dealing with enemies that kind of have mutators, and they kind of have add-ons, and they have things, you know, like they let off shockwaves, or they have like a dash ability, or they wall you in and stuff like that. This guy has a melee ice aura, a shockwave, and he's fast. I appear to be very frozen right now, and I'm also out of mana. So I'm going to kind of like, let's see if we can, dink him with like a big mega punch right there just to get him away from me real fast. I haven't really had to play with my utilities so far this entire time, but they're actually forcing me with this guy because I think he's a little bit tougher and a little bit more chonky than the things that we've faced before. There we go. Let me get a little bit more mana coming on in from that hybrid flask that I put on, and we'll see if we can put a little bit of love and touch and squeezing on this guy, drop him, and I think that takes us right up to about 30 minutes for the video, which means it's time for me to go. But I'm gushing at this point. From what I've played so far, the game feels great. It feels very promising, and I think the fact that it's attacking action RPGs from a different direction with regards to storyline, so there aren't any superhero action RPGs out there with a dystopian, bloody, kind of R-rated Frank Miller vibe to them. And it fills a niche. I think that's going to target a very specific pocket of players that used to play other superhero-related games that have recently folded up or folded up a long time ago in antiquity. It's going to blend that hybrid community with people that are into action RPGs and Diablo. It seems like there's definitely some customization and things that you can do for your talent trees and your abilities as you play the game. I am really glad that they allowed me the opportunity to level up during this video and show off what the customizations and things looked like. And so anyways, it looks like you're going to be able, and I like the way this is sorted here too, like things that happen when the ability starts, when the ability hits, when the ability kills, and then things that just passively happen to that ability as well. This is very nice sorting. This is good UI layout for trying to find the things that you want up inside of here in order to customize your abilities. And it looks like we're going to be able to customize these grids as well and expand them out in other directions. And this also leads into the possibility of, it looks like there's blank spots on top of some of these right here, where if you've got like an upgrade, it looks like you can actually meld these in. I tried a little bit earlier. I don't know if I did it on camera, but it said failed to upgrade when I drug another thing into the blank spot next to this mod right here. It said failed to upgrade, which makes me think you're going to be able to actually fold these passives into other passives as well. And so a lot of possibilities. Very impressed by this one. Don't really have too much to complain about. I think the art style's on point. I think the idea is a really good one. I think the game feels good. It's got solid impact. It's got fun abilities. And while those abilities are things we have seen in other action RPGs, at the bare minimum, if they're not going to be original, they are executed well, which is, for me, the minimum that I ask. I think there is some adherence to tropiness when it comes to action RPGs like this. And so I don't really punish it because it's kind of a hallmark of the genre. But anyways, They've done a great job. I'm really... Oh, and the demo's over, so there you go. I'm really happy with it. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. This is Superfuse. Go check out the demo. I won't play the Elementalist here today so that you can go have something new to discover when you go play the Elementalist, and I won't have used up all the content before you've even played. But I'll see you next time. Thank you for hanging out, and that's all I got. Bye, everybody.